What's this about Clayface I'm hearing? Ladies, gentlemen, Bat family out there, welcome to a brand new The Batman Part 2 breakdown video. And I said that as we get closer and closer, even 5+ months before the production in November, we'd start hearing things like this. Now, yes, you may have already heard that Clayface is confirmed for the Batman Part 2. We're going to break this story down from top to bottom, go into what is actually been reported, the likelihood of this happening, what I've already gone over on the channel before with regards to Clayface, and how I believe if this is true and if this does happen, how he would actually be adapted in my gut instinct and going off of what Matt Reeves has said before. Regardless of the outcome of any of this, it just feels so good to be talking about like major outlet reported news with regards to the Batman Part 2 and its villains. So go ahead, please leave a like on this video. It really helps me out. I woke up like 10 minutes ago, wanted to make a video about this last night, but early start to the day, and yeah, I've got another video to make after this, so would really appreciate that support. Grinding my little boba ass off for you guys. So, Deadline reported this as follows. The headline is, Mike Flanagan pitches pick on Clayface to Warner Brothers DC, The Dish. So exclusive, Dr. Sleep filmmaker Mike Flanagan has pitched a feature version of Clayface over at the studio, several sources tell Deadline. However, no word on green light yet. And the studio has not said no. There are no offers and no deals. Though typically a DC supervillain in the Flanagan pick, should it move forward, he wouldn't be a bad guy. So we hear. Now, word is that Flanagan and his Intrepid Pictures partner, Trevor Macy, had a meeting with DC bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran. Flanagan, we understand, wasn't pitching the character to be part of Matt Reeves' DC Elseworld, The Batman 2, set for an October 3rd, 2025 release. Okay, but here's the most interesting part. That said, other sources are telling us that scripts are constantly changing, and that Clayface is a big addition to Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. Let's wait until the dust settles here and something moves forward. Okay, and here's the kicker. It remains to be seen whether Clayface is a connection between the Batman 2 Elseworld and Gunn and Safran's feature and series sprawling DC's Gods and Monsters Chapter 1. Deadline themselves are going over a story here where they say Mike Flanagan has pitched, a Clayface movie. By the way, he's been wanting to do this for ages. I'm a huge fan of horror, thriller, Mike Flanagan stuff. I would love him to do this in terms of, like, let's just say a separate movie. The thing is, that's what was apparently being pitched to Gunn, and while there's no offer, while there's no deals, and it wasn't being pitched to be a part of Matt Reeves' DC Elseworlds The Batman Part 2, but then they say, like, but at the same time, other sources are telling us that scripts are constantly changing, and that Clayface is a big addition to Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. So immediately after that, guys, they go on with another sentence, say, so, given that we're hearing one source say that Mike Flanagan is pitching this to James Gunn, a Clayface movie, but other sources are saying that scripts are constantly changing, and no, wait, actually, Clayface is a big addition to Matt Reeves' The Batman. They say, let's wait until the dust settles here and something moves forward. Even admitting themselves that, like, to be honest, guys, we're putting this report out, but it remains to be seen whether Clayface is a connection between the Batman Part 2 and Gunn and Safran's feature and series sprawling DC's Gods and Monsters Chapter 1. They're basically saying they don't know what this Clayface information that they're hearing from two different sources, other sources, one source saying, the Flanagan pitch movie, and then another source saying, no, wait, actually, it's actually Matt Reeves' Batman Part 2. They're saying, let's wait until the dust settles, because basically it remains to be seen if the Clayface info that they're hearing in general from this little pool party of sources, one down this end of the pool, people down the other end of the pool being the other sources saying they don't know if it's a connection between the Batman Part 2 or Gunn and Safran's Gods and Monsters. And please, this isn't me saying that Clayface isn't the villain, because, you know, believe it or not, I think that could be very likely, just like any other Rogues Gallery member. And again, before anyone says it's too fantastical for this universe and all that stuff, we're getting into that. I actually wouldn't be surprised if some of what Deadline is hearing here, it does actually pertain to be true to that of the Batman Part 2 script, with how Clayface could either be the poised up main Rogues Gallery villain, or a side kind of character that somehow, you know, is involved in the plot and a part of this big grand plan in Part 2 script. And to top it off, Mike Flanagan tweeted this out as soon as the story dropped, or like sometime afterwards, saying, regarding Clayface, the news today is entirely speculative. When or if something like that ever becomes real, I promise I'll tell you guys. So he's saying there that everything with regards to him, like in that article, Clayface, the whole pitch meeting with James Gunn, Peter Safran for DC Studios, pitching the movie, at least, you know, what the one half of the source party is saying with regards to Mike Flanagan, not the other half necessarily with the Batman Part 2, is that entirely speculative, like entirely. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't a Clayface character being involved in the Batman Part 2 script, because as Deadline says, that's what other sources are telling them. A quick bonus here, even though Mike Flanagan completely shot down the idea of like this Clayface pitch from him even being a thing, it did interest me with regards to a Hollywood Reporter article from months and months ago, way back in October, I believe, of when they said that but Reeves is plotting more. The filmmaker, and some of you may remember this, is meeting with writers and directors to build out movies. Yes, movies, not just series, focused on Batman's Rogues Gallery, both established and more obscure, with characters ranging from the Scarecrow to Clayface to Professor Pig. All of these projects are in the very early stages of gestation. And ever since then, we've heard nothing about that. And even in of itself, around the time, if some of you remember me covering this, it was a weird kind of thing to hear, because, you know, on top of like mainline Batman movies, on top of the Batman spin-off shows like The Penguin, Arkham Asylum, the GCPD show, we're going to get spin-off movies. And we were just like, are they going to be like HBO Max movies? Are they going to be theatrical mainline movies on top of the mainline Batman Part 1, Part 2, Part 3? It was just a weird thing to hear. And again, we've never heard anything since then, and I don't know how I felt about that. Like, trust me, I want more the Batman content, but like the idea of like new mainline kind of Rogues Gallery villain movies on top of mainline trilogy Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 movies on top of spin-off shows, it just sounded odd. But I just thought I'd include this in here. I don't really know why, because again, Mike Flanagan said that this is entirely speculative with regards to the whole pitch for him. But no matter what, like if you want to read between the lines of like, is any of this true, like anywhere from what I just read out to the Deadline thing to whatever, like it is pretty cool to hear the names Clayface or Scarecrow pop up, even Professor Pig, and hopefully that in some way somehow these characters will come to fruition. And another thing, before someone comments it, you may say, Boba, do you remember when they were talking about Basil Karlo, Clayface being involved in the Penguin series? Yes, I do. Now that was like a very, very much so rumor, if you will, and we don't know if it's true, but if it is, well then that could give more credence to the idea that Clayface could somehow be involved in the Batman Part 2. But again, I do need to stress, that was nothing more than just simply a rumor that Basil was going to somehow be in the Penguin show. I have no idea how his character would be used in the Penguin show, but it'd be pretty damn cool if it was like a backdoor entrance into the second movie. And as we know, the Penguin series ties into the events of the Batman Part 2. It's kind of like a low-key catalyst for whatever kind of sets up the main plot in that movie, or at least it kind of directs it that way. So again, you could look at it that way, but please don't give like so much credence to, oh my god, that Penguin rumor, I forgot about that, so this means that this could be true, because that was so much just it wasn't even a major outlet report like what we're hearing here. So now that we've got through the whole breakdown of the actual substance that is out there with regards to, oh, you know, Clayface a part of the Batman Part 2, what's this Mike Flanagan pitch for a movie? How would this be done in the Batman Part 2? And it may be like an unpopular opinion, because the consensus I'm getting when this news broke, now this wasn't so much of a thing before when I've covered it on the channel with, let's say, the Penguin rumors, and how I've got a video saying how Clayface can work. Back then, a lot of people weren't entertaining that, but now, obviously, with this Deadline article being out there, everyone's like, oh my god, Clayface is confirmed, he's confirmed. I really want this big blob monster, right? So here's the thing. Agree with me or extremely disagree with me, but some of you probably know what I'm going to say. If Clayface was to be in the Batman Part 2, I'm really confident in saying this, and I'll eat this coffee cup if I'm wrong. And seriously, it's just how much confidence I have. I really wouldn't be opposed to the other way, but the thing is, based on everything we know about Matt Reeves and everything he said, it would be influenced, in my opinion, from that of the Golden Age Clayface, the original Clayface. Now, I know what made Clayface even more popular is how that original Clayface went on to inspire and influence, obviously, the one that is more widely known, and that is the morphing clay mud monster. But a lot of people out there, and again, with this news, it's very handy. It's like an experiment for me to see what people know about the character. Most people are saying, oh my god, Reeves is embracing the fantastical. Now, let me quickly explain who the Golden Age version is and whether you kind of think it's a recycled idea or not, or that's lame compared to the Mud Monster version. Let's go over it. So the Golden Age Clayface is a literal serial killer, really in line with the epic crime saga as described by Matt Reeves, that this trilogy is very noir-driven, point of view, detective, Batman Year 1, he put away, what was it? A serial killer Joker. Batman Year 2, what was it? He put away a serial killer Riddler. He's essentially, to put it simply, an actor who was driven pretty mad because he wasn't involved with this new movie, a remake of one of his old horror flicks. And I get it, by the way, this is a very basic ass storyline. And by the way, this wouldn't be the premise, but I'm just telling you what it is. And he goes and kills like the cast and the crew dressed up as the character he played in the original movie. And that was, the character was Clayface. And he basically gets in that costume and he puts on like a literal mask of clay and murders a few people. And Batman and Robin stop him, and he's literally a man with a clay face. Like, you're probably seeing images on screen right now where like Batman like rubs off that clay face, right? And that's as simple as it gets. Now, please hold your horses before anyone says, oh my god, that's so lame, why would Matt Reeves do that compared to the clay freaking blob version monster? That is like the popular one. I'm not saying that would be the premise. Who knows what the motive would be, how the story has been woven over like all of these months and still probably writing it, right? And what the motive could be for this Golden Age inspired Clayface. What would be happening, in my opinion, is that visually and the way the character is tackled, that would be influenced from the Golden Age Clayface. Please don't think that they would make a simple plot of, oh, just kind of, you know, like the Riddler, a serial killer, and Joker, Barry Keoghan's Joker, a serial killer. He's going to go around, they're remaking my old movie, you know, and starts killing people. No. Don't get that out of your head. The inspiration, though, is very in line with the grounded, unwinding the fantastical Matt Reeves approach to this universe. Now, I'm going to kind of beat a dead horse here, just as to why in this Batman universe, and I know there's going to be people who fundamentally disagree with me, and that's okay. Like, we can either wait until you're proven wrong or I'm proven wrong. This isn't me trying to sound condescending or anything. It's just 100% in my gut instinct, in my opinion, what I'm telling you he would do based on what he said. And you can still say to me that, no, Boba, I think this is their opportunity to do the morphing clay mud monster, right? Okay, fine. Believe that. I'm not going to stop you from believing that. But again, Matt Reeves has said, and this is when it comes to fantastical, and let's just hypothetically assume that this is 200% confirmed that Clayface is going to be a villain in the Batman Part 2. The reason why it wouldn't be the mud morphing clay monster is because of quotes like this, and this was, for example, in regards to Mr. Freeze. In my view, I just feel drawn to finding the grounded version of everything. So to me, it would be a challenge in an interesting way, and apply this to Clayface, by the way, to try and figure out how that could happen. Even the idea of something like Mr. Freeze, but Clayface, that's such a great story, right? I think there's actually a grounded version of that story, which could be really powerful and could be really great. So I love the fantastical side of Batman, but this iteration, obviously, while being, to me, I think very comics faithful, but I don't think that this one is necessarily, it doesn't lean as hard into the fantastical, I guess. But I think, to me, what would be interesting would be to try and unwind the fantastical and see, well, how could that make sense here? And so that's kind of my view, how I see it. Other key quotes from him saying, I want it to feel emotionally real and to make everything feel believable. In this movie, even further, I think, than what I did in those films, referring to his old movies, I tried to find the practical, believable version.
Trying to find the way in which you take all these fantasy sort of aspects of the story and find the real world sort of connection to it, so that we could find, for us, what we were trying to do every day was to, okay, what if this was real? How would we do it? And what would that all mean? And so I think probably that's the thing, is to honor it by trying to find the way to sort of embrace all of the things that people love about the character, the things that we love about the character, but then to try and find a way, which for me is always the key to everything, is to find the way in which that character is like you, is human like you, is flawed like you, and to do that for all of the characters.
I tried to find the practical, believable version, make everything feel believable, unwinding the fantastical. Now, when you have Clayface, yes, there's different iterations of the character. Which version does that spell out to you? The Morphing Mud Clay monster? Or the Golden Age original version? I think you can see where I'm going with this. Now, again, I know some people are going to be frustrated at the idea of that, like, why wouldn't they do that? Like, that would be incredible, especially with his kind of gothic, kind of really accurate, like, comics feeling universe. And I do get where those people are coming from, but I do feel like the writing has been so on the wall. And again, hypothetically assuming this was true, I think there would be backlash, but it's kind of the thing until when people saw the movie, I think that's when people would be like, okay, oh, after seeing it, I see why this is an interesting story. It is still actually technically comics accurate to the original version. I would have wanted the Morphing Clay Mud Monster version, but, I see what... Okay, this is definitely an unwinding the fantastical world, and this Clayface was actually pretty badass. I think that's what would happen. It's a similar thing with Paul Dano's Riddler. As soon as they saw the Zodiac Killer kind of get up and everything like that, people were like, what? Like, well, what are they doing? It's that vibe. So people have this kind of... And I don't blame people, because the most popular version of Clayface is the Morphing Mud Monster one. But again, I would say, like, whenever entertaining this topic, readjust the lens to, like, oh, okay, this is what Matt Reeves' approach is in general. And then your outlook would probably, in my opinion, be dialed onto the right way of thinking about whenever a fantastical villain is rumored to be a Batman Part 2 villain. Try and reserve any thoughts of, and fair enough if you do feel this way, I'm not trying to invalidate how anyone feels initially. Maybe if, again, let's just say this happened, you would need to be convinced of it. But a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, this version is so generic, it's just another serial killer, bring in this version, aka the Mud Morphing Monster one. My response to that is, it wouldn't be, straight up an adaptation of, oh, serial killer, I'm going to be wearing a literal clay mask, I'm going to go around killing people. There would be a whole year-plus long written and focused script of Matt Reeves like trying to make this an interesting thing, and again, it would be inspired by the look. It wouldn't be a copy and paste of him being an angry ex-actor at a remake of his movie. So again, insert whatever plot you have here, and it doesn't even necessarily mean he would be a straight-up serial killer. The core focus of Matt Reeves' Batman trilogy is, as he says himself, an epic crime saga. It's very... The thing that separates it from Nolan's version, because lots of people are also like, oh, but we've already had the believable version of Rogues Gallery characters from like well over a decade ago in like heavy concentration, and Matt Reeves is just doing the exact same thing. Why do... It's like, no, this series of Batman movies is very... It is grounded in a similar way to Nolan in that way, but it's very noir, point of view Batman driven, heavy focus on detective, and I really can't say those things about Nolan's movies. So again, epic crime saga. So with this Basil Karlo Clayface, for example, or if you want to go with maybe another version of Clayface in terms of character name, it doesn't automatically mean he's a serial killer. That's why I keep saying insert whatever motive or creative story you have here. It's just that the visual design that I keep going back to would likely, heavily likely in my opinion, be based off of the Golden Age-esque version. So what I've got here is Jackson mocked up this artwork, and I think it's amazing because I think it shows the potential, even though, again, people who are so dialed into the morphing mud clay monster version are gonna be like, I don't care about this, Boba. Like, I mean, I think it's cool, but I don't care about this. I feel you. I get what you're saying, but I do feel like it shows how creepy this villain could be. As you can see here, Jackson has been very faithful to the Golden Age version, and you can kind of assess through the mask on the face that, let's just say this Clayface Basil Karlo, again, this is why I keep repeating, insert whatever backstory or motive for the movie you have. Let's just say he has a disfigurement, and he uses some kind of substance to kind of maybe fill in some of the disfigurement, true to kind of the comics when Batman kind of rubs that off his face. Maybe he actually has an actual literal clay mask, and that would give you a very, the very kind of creepy theater mask that just remains still. That would be terrifying. Mike Marino, who does amazing prosthetics for the Batman movie and likely the future movies, would be perfect for this. You could even give the character in this movie of Clayface a background, because maybe an ex-actor who's worked in the entertainment industry but who's like unbelievably good at prosthetics. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, if you're going to do that version of Clayface, you may as well do Hush. I get what you're saying, but that doesn't mean that they can't still make Clayface, the Golden Age version or influenced version in, let's just say, the Batman Part 2, unique from Hush. Maybe it'd be like Arkham Asylum, a serious house on the serious Earth Clayface, where he's like a skin disease kind of situation, and he's still using, as per what Jackson Durr has put up here, with Mike Marino's makeup, and in universe, he's an expert at prosthetics or something, and he's just creepily like filling in the blanks of whatever, let's just say, his condition is. Maybe he was a famous actor and he had a horrible disfigurement, and he's driven up with so much pent-up rage that he's got like this motive to do all kinds of other things. Again, I'm not saying that's the plot. Please don't take my picture as, that sounds insanely boring. I'm just giving you off the top of my head examples as to how the Golden Age version could work. And also, I do want to stress, as I've always said, they can still walk the line of fantastical. So let's just say the prosthetics here that, let's just say, Basil Karlo would use, akin to maybe Jackson Durr's artwork here. So he's still got a face underneath that, granted that he's using kind of like that clay Renu-esque substance to fill in the gaps, or maybe a theater-esque mask that just is very creepy. It could be to the level of like unrealistic prosthetics that we don't actually have in our world today. Think somewhat Mission Impossible, because we literally, some people say, oh, we have stuff like, but not like that. Similar to how we don't have, as per what they walk the line of with in the first Batman movie, Bruce's freaking contact lenses. You guys, some of you probably wear contact lenses. You understand how they can be almost paper thin. And for him to have contact lenses, yes, I know it's Wayne Tech and everything like that, that literally record HD video, have no kind of USB-C, port or anything like that. It's just paper-thin contact lenses that he puts on a little freaking eyeball thing to put on, and it uploads to the computer. Like, that's not realistic. That's not realistic. So what I'm saying is they can still make it, like, kind of creepy without going, like, full on morphing clay mud monster. That's the thing. They might, like, step it up the first notch, from like, unwinding the fantastical, grounded and stuff, and go here, but like, it would go here, in terms of being the clay mud monster over here. But do you see what I mean? Like, they can still give a lot of walking that line of realism and unrealistic to the Golden Age influence that they may give Clayface, let's just say, if he was in the second movie. As Matt Reeves says, like, to make everything feel believable. So those contact lenses, although the military probably has stuff that we have no idea, like in terms of public consumption in our real world, aren't realistic, but they're kind of believable with how our technology is today. It makes you think, we don't have that. Like, imagine if you could literally put eye contact lenses in and it records 1080p video. There's no sense of, plugging it in. It just somehow records that with circuitry in it and just, wirelessly uploads it to the back computer. It's not real, but it's believable. So translate that onto what they could do with a Golden Age influenced Clayface in the Batman Part 2. So I hope that gives you some kind of idea for, like, if you think that him just wearing a simple mud mask or whatever, and there's no mud morphing abilities, and that's just so boring, that they could still, like, add a bit of flair to what makes it feel believable, yet certainly isn't attainable in our real world. But even so, on the bottom line, I'm very confident it wouldn't be a full-on, like, morphing, like, blob clay esque monster for the reasons I've already, exhausted in this video and exhausted in many videos before that, going over what Matt Reeves has said about somewhat, reverse engineering the fantastical, making it believable, telling a great story still being very comics faithful, but ultimately unwinding those fantastical elements and trying to make sense of it in how, as he says himself, how can that work here? So after a very long rambling session, I wanted to go into it to kind of tackle all kinds of things. I'm going to leave it there. But let's hope that it is, or maybe you're hoping that it isn't, and that maybe it's Scarecrow or someone else. Let me know your thoughts there. Do you agree with me about the fantastical, or should I say unwinding the fantastical using Matt Reeves' own words himself and whatnot? Or are you still like, no, Boba, I respect what you're saying, but like this could be, and I think it is, their opportunity to do a full-on morphing clay mud monster where it like just ripples out and everywhere like that. Fair enough if you do believe that. Just tell me why, despite what you're hearing from Matt Reeves, why you have such conviction there. But I think that's everything other than just saying I would really appreciate a like on this video if you've got this far and you've enjoyed listening to my thoughts, my take on all of this. I will keep you up to date on any micro update on this. You can trust me on that, so do consider subscribing if you happen to be brand new here. But until next time, guys, gonna love you and leave you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, Bat Family, in the next video. Goodbye.